tremendous amount of force of air. It's like a big suction.
Hill says his family came down from Cedar Rapids to help pick up the debris. Pieces of the house and structures outside have been blown clear across the field next to his home.
This messed up quite a bit of ours. This is the first time, you always feel sorry for it happened to people. You see it on the news all the time, and then it happens to you. It really hits you.
Homes had been almost completely leveled.
Neighbors got a little bit worse.
Yes, their brand new home has a lot of damage. Their shop is gone. And as you see to the north, the house is all but gone.
You can replace material stuff. Bodies you can't.
We were hoping to intercept some storms as they moved into the area. The initial lines of thunderstorms during this severe weather outbreak moving at an incredible pace, sometimes up to 80 miles per hour, obviously making it hard to keep up with the storms, so we let them come to us. We tried to stay ahead of them as long as we could, and it was not for very long. Obviously, a lot of heavy rain with these storms. They're high precipitation storms producing a lot of heavy rain, making travel very difficult. Ponding on area roadways was certainly a problem as the heaviest rains fell, along with some small to moderately sized hail impacting travel across the area.
The threat for yet another round of severe weather continues today. We're focused on two areas and nearly 25 million people who live there. The first is in northeastern Kansas and western Missouri. It's a level 2 out of 5 risk, mainly for strong winds and hail. The other area, a more robust weather maker, is over most of Ohio, western Indiana, and southeastern Michigan. This includes Detroit and its northwestern suburbs, such as Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Huntington Woods, and Farmington Hills. Tornadoes are possible, along with gusty winds and hail. Be sure to stay weather alert. It was a surprise to some. A tornado touched down last Friday near the Ohio-Kentucky border, but it's not unusual for tornadoes to form in this area. But what is unusual is how cold it was at the time. Meteorologist Brandon Stover explains.
Well, a surprising tornado occurred last Friday evening in the Ohio River Valley. The National Weather Service in Wilmington, Ohio, confirmed that an EF1 tornado with 90-mile-per-hour winds briefly spun up near the town of Maysville, Kentucky. This twister crossed a double-A highway, damaging some outbuildings, along with uprooting and breaking several trees as well. It's not unusual to see tornadoes there occasionally, but what made this one interesting is that it developed way behind a cold front in chillier air. Temps were only in the 50s with dew points only in the 40s. Despite this, there was a little bit of instability thanks to a cold pocket of air aloft, and the winds were changing directions and increasing in speed up to about 5,000 feet off the ground per the Storm Prediction Center Meso-Analysis page. Some atmospheric spin was evident. This allowed these shallow updrafts in these cells to acquire some rotation, but it was so subtle that it was difficult to warn on. Even further east in West Virginia, low-level clouds were moving fast, another sign that the shear was rather high. The vast majority of tornadoes occur along and out ahead of fronts, but every so often, one or two can actually occur behind the front if conditions are right.
On Monday, hail fell in the storm in the Baltimore area. The thunderstorm did become strong to severe. Many have asked, how can hail form when temperatures are in the 80s? That was the high temperature for the day. Meteorologist Jared Gelbailey explains how it happens.
The temperature at the ground was 85 degrees, but the temperature above our heads, and we're only talking a few thousand feet, had already dropped below freezing, where you can see that. But high above, say around 30,000 feet, where jet airliners usually travel, it was minus 30, so very cold. Now, thunderstorms contain strong updrafts and also downdrafts. Those updrafts take any sort of precipitation and can loft it high into the air where it's much, much colder. So hail begins as a raindrop, and it gets lofted by those strong updrafts high into the atmosphere where it's below freezing, and it forms really small hailstones at first. But over time, those drops get suspended by the air rising, that updraft. And what happens is they grow by colliding with supercooled water droplets. Supercooled water is actually water that's below freezing, yet it's still liquid. Over time, it collects those supercooled water droplets and it grows to a point until it's too heavy for the updraft to support it. And then they fall to the ground. Or sometimes the updraft will weaken and it drops it to the ground. So a very interesting process. And as you can tell, again, it can still be warm near the ground when that happens because all the ice forms high above where it is way below freezing.
It took just 12 hours this week in Dubai, the city in the United Arab Emirates, to get as much rain as it typically sees in 1 year. And it's the largest single rainfall the desert city has seen in 75 years. Flooding filled streets with water and led to the closure of Dubai International Airport. At least 18 people died in nearby Oman. Eleni Gugos has more from Dubai.
All departing flights from Dubai have now been cancelled until midnight on Wednesday, which is pretty significant given the fact that most people can't get to the airport. You've got scenes like this, flooded streets, and specifically the main artery feeding into Dubai International completely shut down. But this is the day after these dramatic storms. It is a sunny day, which is good news, but the cleanup begins. And you're seeing people working from home. Schools have been shut down as well. And frankly, homes and infrastructure have been impacted. One thing you've got to remember, this is a desert landscape. The soil is very different. It doesn't absorb as quickly. And also the infrastructure is not geared to handle this kind of rain. There aren't enough drainage systems. Most of that does exist, basically blocked by sand. The impact on the airport has been, I think, one of the most dramatic things we've heard, where people were stranded. They weren't able to leave. The people that had arrived, from what we understand, the connecting flights are still pretty much operational. But anyone wanting to leave Dubai or the UAE from Dubai International, that has been halted.
And now back to the United States. Montana needs the water, at least not that much water like they're seeing in Dubai. As meteorologist Mitchell Combs explains, the state's water year is running way below average.
Is our poor snowpack conditions. We've continued to see those worsening conditions, well below average conditions, 50 to about 78% for all of our basins across western Montana. And for some of these, this is near record to record low conditions. And I want to take a closer look at the Gallatin Basin. You see this black line. That is our water year, and that's the observations of the snowpack. And right now, we've seen that drop below this red area, which shows those record conditions. Many areas of western Montana are seeing these types of conditions in our basins. For the Gallatin Basin, it's about 67% of average, and we're about 7 days to the median snow water equivalent peak. But many of our basins have already reached that, unfortunately.
Coming up on the National Weather Desk, we head to Salt Lake City, Utah to see how the city is preparing for heavy spring runoff from melting snow. But first, let's test your weather wit. What temperature is the same on both the Celsius and Fahrenheit scales? 0, -40, 32, or 100? The answer in a moment.
Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have some unsettled weather heading into the Northeast in the form of some rain and rain showers in the coming days. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. On our Wednesday here, we're seeing a little bit of wet weather move into parts of New York, down through New Jersey, and perhaps into parts of southern New England. Another round will be with us heading into Thursday as well. Notice a good chunk of Maine, New Hampshire, northern Vermont stays dry though. That's 1:30 in the afternoon. And temps will leave a lot to be desired. We should stay in the 40s on Thursday. Another round of showers moves in Friday night.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Your Wednesday starts out dry, but we'll see some chances for rain showers likely to come through as we move into around midday. Your afternoon will still see those showers and possibly some rumbles of thunder. Through your afternoon as well, they'll become a little more scattered, though. I think once we get into Thursday, we'll dry out. But Wednesday, of course, our temperatures take a little bit of a dive, dropping into the 70s for highs. We'll have some extra sunshine coming Thursday to warm things up a bit more into the mid to upper 70s.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Another warm day ahead of us. We did have that weak frontal boundary pass through the area, and it will continue to progress through. You can notice exactly where that frontal boundary will be during the time of our afternoon highs. 70s right there. Everywhere else looks like 80 degrees, upper 70s for the most part. So notice that frontal boundary around midday. That's why those areas are going to be just slightly cooler. Line kind of falls apart the further south it gets.
the National Weather Desk.
Before the break, I asked what temperature is the same on both Celsius and Fahrenheit scales. The answer is -40. If you're looking for more weather trivia, be sure to follow us on Instagram, where every Wednesday, today, we test your weather wit. Now let's check to see the weather in cities across the nation today. We start with a look here at beautiful Rhode Island. Skies will be partly cloudy this morning with added clouds in the afternoon, along with scattered showers. High temperatures range anywhere from the middle to upper 50s. Heading south to Huntington, West Virginia, be sure to stay weather alert where strong to severe thunderstorms are in the forecast. Plan for a very warm temperatures in the lower 80s. New Orleans, Louisiana, where skies are cloudy and highs today will be in the lower 80s. And now to the Alamo City, San Antonio, Texas, a popular city to visit. Clouds will win over sunshine this afternoon with highs ranging from the middle to upper 80s. In Salt Lake City, Utah, spring runoff is already underway. That is residents and city officials ramping up flood preps. Ariel Harrison looks at what they're doing to stay ahead of the upcoming flowing water.
I was here like the first day that they closed down the park.
Molly Martin remembers last year's spring runoff well. She'd come to this park off 17 South with her dogs when she saw the flood closures.
It was definitely interesting, and especially to see the creek down there and how high that got and how powerful it was running.
Do you feel like we're ready this year?
Yeah, I think so.
Cade Moniker is the division director of Salt Lake County's flood control. He says runoff is already underway in the northern waterways like Immigration Creek.
There was a lot more low elevation and mid elevation snow last year. This year we're seeing, a good amount of runoff from immigration, but not as much problems.
Because of large turnouts at community sandbagging events last year, Moniker says the stockpiles are ready if needed. A trickier problem, navigating controlled releases.
A stark difference between 2023 and 2024. We had a whole bunch of snow, of course, in 23. We had lots of room in the reservoirs. This year, we don't have as much snow, but we have really no room in the reservoirs. So in these areas that we need to do these controlled releases, we're just going to see high water throughout the runoff season.
I asked what the county is doing now to coordinate with cities on flood prep.
We hold coordination meetings with Salt Lake City, and we stage certain detention basins within their cities coming off Immigration Creek, and we're basically watching for debris.
Even when the grass in your yard is a deep green and flowers are budding, it's also possible to be in the middle of drought conditions. That's the case right now for parts of northeast Wisconsin. Meteorologist Christian Palico has more.
What we have is a subsoil moisture problem. There just isn't any.
Valerie Dantoin is an instructor for Northeast Wisconsin Technical College teaching sustainable food and agriculture systems. There's a reason why we continue to see the vibrant greens in our area despite the drought.
The little bit of snow we got, say 10 inches in that last blizzard 2 weeks ago, it all soaked in nice and slow. That was great, fantastic, but it's only enough to wet the top 6-8 inches of soil, not enough to carry us very much further.
Dantoin shows us a soil profile, or what it would look like if you were to take out a shovel and dig into your lawn.
And what we're seeing is our current rains and moisture that we have only have filled up about this top amount of soil with moisture, and the pore spaces down here are still very dry.
According to Dantoin, the average amount of rain needed to maintain healthy vegetation levels is about an inch a week for the rest of spring all the way through summertime. Even though rain isn't always guaranteed to arrive, there is a way you can prolong that moisture.
We like to tell people to incorporate organic matter into your soil. And on our farm, we incorporate cow manures and straw and all kinds of things like that so that we retain the moisture we do get.
The drought monitor shows that for right now, most of northeast Wisconsin is normal, but in the northern counties and even down in Waushara and Green Lake counties, there are spots where it's moderately dry. But with that rain in the forecast through Wednesday evening, at the very least, it will help us out in the short term.
Now to a groundbreaking mission that aims to revolutionize agriculture in space. The program hopes to use the power of the mushroom root system to create carbon dioxide that can be used to grow plants in the cosmos. Kyle Gibson explains.
And we sent a very small bit of mycelium that emits carbon dioxide in a very small greenhouse that housed 2 plants into the beginnings of space to study the effects of solar radiation on plants.
Dr. Todd Osmundson is at the forefront of this groundbreaking research. He helped Garden City fungi sequence mycelium strains in the past.
So one of the things we want to know is what is the effects of solar radiation on the genome of the fungus. So we're sequencing the whole genome of the fungus before it goes up into space and then after it comes back to see what sort of changes we can observe.
Osmundson is a UM and MSU alum whose work highlights the meticulous effort behind Garden City fungi's groundbreaking approach to space agriculture.
One thing that's really good about this particular strain is it will put out a consistent amount of carbon dioxide for a fairly long period of time, which is pretty important for growers to know how much carbon dioxide they're going to get.
Thomas McGowan and his team at Florida Atlantic University were in charge of getting the project off the ground, ensuring they could study the mycelium, CO2 output, plant viability, and its reaction to space radiation.
We want to expose our plants to the radiation because they are modified to sustain this higher levels in space to possibly see if they could be cultivated and see if there's any differences in the short-term research that we are able to collect and work towards being able to sustain long-term farming in space.
This high-altitude balloon mission hovered above commercial flights, but below the space station. Glenn is eager to see just how far the company can push the boundaries of agricultural innovation.
Hurricane season is fast approaching, and most of us know ocean temperatures play a key role in how severe the season could be. However, there's another factor, Saharan dust. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski explains.
As we approach the start of hurricane season in about a month and a half from now, we tend to move our eyes, of course, across the Atlantic. We look at the sea surface temperatures, but we also look at Saharan dust that comes off the coast of Africa. And there's a very large dust plume that has been moving off the coast and will continue to do so for the remainder of this week. Now, that really thick dust can block the sun, and it actually can cool some of the sea surface temperatures. And that's exactly what's happening right now off the coast of Africa, which you might think, hey, that's a good thing and could help lessen hurricane intensity and formation. However, this can change very quickly. Also, we don't tend to look in this part of the ocean until maybe August or September. So we have several months until then. The Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, still very warm right now and still prime for hurricane formation, which is where we will look at the start of the season on June 1st.
And before a short break, we soar above the Cincinnati Nature Center. We're back after this.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael. Today, the stronger storms moving their way more into the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. And as we continue on into your Thursday, got another round of rain developing, moving its way in, and that'll continue moving its way east through Thursday. It's going to be cooler behind that. Only highs in the 40s there in Bismarck on Friday and 30s on Friday. So 40s on Thursday, 30s on Friday for Bismarck. But the rain moving its way out and a little drier, but cooler this weekend.
Good Wednesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast across the region. Starting off with quite a bit of cloud cover, real mild and humid temperatures in the 70s for most. We'll get a lot of sunshine Oklahoma City to Amarillo in the 80s. Then it's 80s and more humid with patchy clouds and breaks of a little sun. Keep an eye out in South Texas for the possibility of a thunderstorm or two. Thursday, we do have a marginal to a slight risk of severe storms. Late day Thursday into Thursday night. Temperatures will be in the 80s Thursday.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Much warmer temperatures now moving into California, Arizona, New Mexico, Las Vegas, 91 degrees. Now, while it's warmer to the southwest, we have cooler air still working its way across the Pacific Northwest. And as the storm is moving its way through, we're getting the northern Rockies from Montana, some locally heavy mountain snow from that trough moving eastward. Otherwise dry and warm for a couple of days here on the west. That's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Hail fell over Arkansas Tuesday afternoon. Here's what the sky dropped in Roland, which is northwest of Little Rock. And this photo, also from Arkansas, shows a collection of sizes. Most of this hail bigger than dimes, nickels, and quarters. And a dazzling start to the day, a collection of fiery sunrises from Providence, Rhode Island, to this great golden glow over Lake Michigan.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Several of you are enjoying warm spring temperatures. Let's take a look at some viewer photos from Chime In that meteorologist Kit Alexandra shared on his Facebook page.
The signs of spring are all around us. Many of the trees in the southern Appalachians are in bloom and becoming green. Check out this photo from James Lyons of a redbud tree providing spring nectar for this honeybee. A hummingbird also made an appearance on a bird feeder in Mendota, Virginia. Amy Larson says it's the first one to make an appearance this year. And here's a photo of dogwoods blooming on a warm spring day in Jonesboro, Tennessee. Thank you to all of our loyal viewers for sending these Chime In photos.
We'd love to share your weather content on air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk. We're back after this. Thank you so much for looking in this morning. I'm glad you were able to join me. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. Have a great day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.